In this episode, I want to talk about why we become who we become. I've spent years sitting across from people from every walk of life: doctors, entrepreneurs, parents, young adults, people who, on the surface, couldn't have been more different from one another. And yet, over the years, I've noticed something extraordinary. Beneath every success, every fear, every relationship, every difficult decision, there is one quiet question waiting to be asked. How did I become this version of myself? Not why I can't stop overthinking. Not why do I keep attracting wrong people. Not asking why am I never good enough. Those questions matter, but I don't think they are the first questions. Because before we ask how to change, perhaps we need to understand how we arrived there. Welcome to Becoming. I am Namrata Mane. This is a space where we become curious about ourselves, not to judge ourselves, not to fix ourselves, but to understand ourselves. Because over the years, I have come to believe something very deeply. People are not problems waiting to be solved, they are stories waiting to be understood. And when we begin understanding the story, everything begins to change. When we are children, we don't wake up deciding to become anxious. We don't choose to become people pleasers. And we also don't dream of becoming perfectionists. We don't decide that one day we'll struggle to trust others or struggle to trust ourselves. Those aren't choices, they are adaptations. Somewhere along the journey of life, each one of us learns what feels safe. Maybe we learn that being helpful earns love. Maybe we learn that staying quiet avoids conflict. Maybe we learn that being perfect keeps us from being criticized. Maybe we learn that depending on no one is safer than being disappointed. At first, these are simple ways of protecting ourselves, small adjustments, small survival strategies. But something fascinating happens over time. We practice them, we repeat them, we become so familiar with them that eventually the adaptation becomes our identity. And one day we say, this is how I am. I am an overthinker. I am emotionally distant. I am too sensitive. I am a perfectionist. But what if that isn't who you are? What if that's simply who you had to become to feel safe? That question has changed the way I see every human being. Because once you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And begin asking, what happened that made this pattern necessary? Something softens inside you. Judgment gives way to curiosity, and curiosity is where healing quietly begins. One of the greatest privileges of my work has been witnessing people remember themselves, not becoming someone new. Remember someone they've always been. I've seen people who believed they were weak discovered incredible resilience. I've seen people who've carried guilt for decades finally breathe freely. I've seen people who've spent years believing they were broken realize they were simply adapting to experiences they never chose. That's why I don't believe healing is about becoming someone else. I think healing is remembering who you were before fear convinced you to become someone you are not. Perhaps that's why I chose the name Becoming, because life isn't a straight line. We are always becoming. Every experience shapes us, every relationship leaves an imprint, every disappointment teaches us something. The question is, are we becoming by design or by default? We are consciously choosing the person we are growing into. Or are we still living from patterns that were created years ago by a younger version of ourselves who was simply trying to feel safe? These are the conversations I want us to have, not because I have all the answers, but because I've learned that the quality of our life lives and often shaped by the quality of the questions we are willing to ask. So, today, before we move on with your day, I'd like to leave you with one question. Who did you have to become to feel safe? And perhaps an even gentler one. Does that version of you still need to carry the weight today? Thank you for spending these moments with me. This is Becoming. I am Namrata Mani. Until next time, be curious, be compassionate with yourself, because understanding yourself isn't the end of the journey. It's where becoming truly begins. And I genuinely think this is the first piece that feels like become beginning of movement rather than a podcast. It isn't trying to impress, it simply invites you into a different way of seeing yourself. If we maintain this style of writing, every episode of Becoming will develop into a voice that you recognize within the first few sentences. Thank you.